Okay, think about your commute. Stuck again, right, bumper to bumper, watching the clock. But what if, instead of just sitting there, you could, I don't know, just lift off? Imagine the sky opening up a shortcut right over all that mess. Well, that's not science fiction anymore. It's the future JOBY Aviation is trying to build. And today we're doing a deep dive into their whole world. For this, we've gathered quite a stack of recent stuff, financial reports, company updates, analyses. These really help shed light not just on what JOBY is doing, but how close they are to making urban air mobility real and what that might actually look like for all of us. So our mission today, let's unpack JOBY Aviation. Who are they? Where are they on the road to actually flying passengers? And what does their future and maybe the future of city travel really hold? Right, so to really get this idea of air taxis zipping around, we need to understand the company driving it. Let's start right there. What is JOBY Aviation exactly?
Okay, so JOBY is a U.S. aerospace company, a startup really focused on electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. You hear eVTOL a lot. Their main thing is developing these air taxis, sometimes called UAM vehicles, urban air mobility, the big goal, to tackle head-on the massive traffic jams you see in big cities everywhere. Basically, fly over it.
I've seen some of the numbers for their aircraft. They sound, well, pretty ambitious. It's a 5-seater, 1 pilot, 4 passengers, and totally electric, so no emissions during flight. But the thing that really jumps out is how quiet they say it is. Like 100 times quieter than a helicopter. How do they even do that? And why is being quiet so important here?
Yeah, that quietness is absolutely vital. I mean, think about trying to get public buy-in for these things flying over neighborhoods. It has to be quiet. They manage it with a pretty clever tilt propeller design, so it lifts off vertically, like a chopper. But then those propellers tilt forward. And that allows for really efficient flight, like a regular plane using the wing. The quiet part comes from how they designed those props and the electric motors themselves. And what's really interesting safety-wise is having multiple propellers. If one motor has an issue, the others can keep it flying safely. That redundancy is key.
Ah, okay.
Performance-wise, yeah, it's impressive. Range is up to 150 miles. That's about 240 kilometers on one charge. And top speed, 200 miles per hour or 320 kilometers per hour.
Wow.
So that makes it perfect for, say, connecting outer suburbs to downtown or for those airport runs, skipping all the ground traffic.
And it feels like JOBY isn't just building the aircraft. They're trying to build the whole service, right? They bought Uber's air taxi division, Uber Elevate, back in 2020. That really screams Uber of the skies, doesn't it? Seems like they want that seamless ground-to-air thing. Okay, but with all this cool tech, there's always a catch, isn't there? A big hurdle. When you look at JOBY actually getting this to market, what's the biggest challenge? The absolute key thing they have to nail. It's got to be getting the okay from the regulators, right? The FAA.
Absolutely. You nailed it. Getting full certification from the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration here in the U.S., that's the critical step, the make or break point, honestly. It's a process with 5 stages, really rigorous. And JOBY's made quite a bit of progress in 2024. They're deep into Phase 4 now. Phase 4 is all about testing and analysis, lots and lots of it.
Okay.
Their public target is to get through all 5 stages and have that full certification by late 2025.
Late 2025. That's if they hit that. What about actual flights with paying customers? The plans sound just as ambitious. First paid flights may be late 2025 or early 2026. And they're starting in big places like LA and New York. Plus, they did those demo flights in Dubai already this year, mid-2025. They seem to be moving fast.
They are. And what's fascinating, really, is watching how closely investor confidence and the company's stock price track this regulatory progress. Every milestone they hit with the FAA, every positive signal, it directly boosts the perception that commercial flights are getting closer. It's probably the single most watched variable for JOBY right now. It's not just about can the tech work, but can it meet the FAA's incredibly high safety bar?
Yeah, the market definitely noticed something recently. JOBY stock, it just shot up, right? Almost 50% in like 5 days back in July 2025. Here's where it gets really interesting. What exactly caused that sudden burst of excitement? What were the catalysts?
Well, there were a few big things that all sort of landed around the same time, really fueled that surge. First, JOBY announced a major expansion of their production plans. This was in July 2025. Their place in Marina, California expanded to over 435,000 square feet. That's around 40,500 square meters, set up to build maybe 24 aircraft a year.
Okay, 24 a year. That's a start.
But the really big news was the remodeled Dayton, Ohio facility. They're aiming for a capacity of up to 500 aircraft per year there.
500? Wow.
And critically, they're leveraging Toyota's manufacturing expertise. That's huge. Having Toyota involved signals they're serious about mass production, not just building prototypes one by one. It gives investors huge confidence they can actually scale. Second thing, we saw this really unusual level of public support directly from the FAA. Chris Rushlow, who was the acting FAA administrator, he actually sort of promoted the progress of the whole urban air mobility sector.
That is unusual for a regulator.
Exactly. It's rare. It suggests the FAA is pretty confident about the path forward, maybe specifically Joby's progress on certification. And then there was that LAX simulation. They integrated a Joby aircraft into the airspace of one of the world's busiest airports with real pilots, real air traffic controllers.
That's more than just a test flight.
Right. It demonstrated their operational model could actually work in complex, real-world airspace. Big confidence booster, likely for the FAA too. And third, they locked down some really solid global partnerships and potential orders. In Dubai, they did that first test flight successfully, June 30th. Still aiming for commercial service there in 2026. That's concrete progress.
Okay.
And in Saudi Arabia, they signed an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding with Abdul Latif Jameel. Now they're Toyota's big dealer in the Middle East.
Ah, the Toyota connection again.
Yep. For up to 200 aircraft plus services. That deal's estimated around $1 billion. That's serious market validation and a potential future revenue stream.
Right. And besides those big headlines, there were probably other things calming investor nerves too, like their cash situation seems pretty strong. Somewhere around, $800 million to $1.3 billion in cash and investments early in 2025. That gives them room to breathe, right, to fund all this R&D and factory building without needing more cash right away.
Definitely. That's a significant war chest.
And then there's this buzz about maybe seeing these EV tools at big events like the 2026 World Cup in North America or the 2028 LA Olympics. That would be massive exposure.
Huge visibility, yeah. That's certainly something people are speculating about.
So, okay, we've laid out a strong case, lots of positive signs, big notes. But let's, ground ourselves a bit. It can't all be smooth sailing. Despite the momentum, what are the real risks? The big challenges Joby still has to overcome.
Yeah, that's crucial. There are definitely significant hurdles. Let's break them down. Technically, battery technology is still, a work in progress for aviation. The energy density isn't like jet fuel, so that impacts range and how much you can carry.
Right, the 150-mile range is good, but maybe not for all routes.
Exactly. And you need super robust charging infrastructure. Ideally, they want like a 10-minute turnaround time between flights. That's tough.
Wow, yeah.
Plus, there's always the potential fire risk with large batteries, something the whole EV world contends with. And noise. While one aircraft is quiet, what happens when you have dozens, maybe hundreds, flying over a city? That cumulative noise could be an issue.
Good point.
Then there's the software side, developing fully autonomous flight systems that are safe and can integrate into busy airspace. That's a monumental task. And of course, just getting through the rest of those demanding FAA safety certifications, it's never a given. Then you've got market and commercial risks. We don't actually know how big the demand for air taxis will be.
Will people actually use them and trust them?
Right. Public perception around safety and just the novelty of it could be a barrier. And costs. Initial operating costs will likely be high. That means fares might be closer to helicopter rides at first, not exactly mass transit prices.
So not for everyone initially.
Probably not. And the infrastructure isn't there yet. You need places for these things to take off and land vertiports. And air traffic control systems need to handle potentially thousands of these flights. That build-out could lag behind the aircraft certification. And finally, the financial reality. Joby is burning through cash. Hundreds of millions of dollars a year in net losses right now.
Which is normal for this stage, but still.
It is normal, but it's significant. Projections suggest they might not see substantial revenue for a while. Maybe losses continue into the early 2030s.
Early 2030s?
That's what some analysts predict, which means they might need to raise more capital down the line, potentially diluting current investors. Real profitability driven by getting lots of aircraft operating efficiently, economies of scale that's probably not expected until the mid-2030s. It's a very long game.
Okay, mid-2030s for profitability. That really puts it in perspective. It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. So, given this long, tough race, who else is running alongside Joby? Who are their main competitors and how do they stack up? What are the different strategies?
Good question. Joby is definitely seen as a leader, maybe the leader right now, especially on that FAA certification timeline. They're clearly ahead. Their partnerships are also a major strength. Toyota, the DoD, Delta Airlines, SKT in Korea. That's a powerful network.
And they tested a hydrogen version too, right, for longer range?
They did, which shows they're thinking beyond just current batteries. And their strategy, focusing on operating the service themselves, the B2C model. It's high risk, high investment upfront, but if it works, the payoff could be huge. Then you have Archer Aviation. They're another big name. Their aircraft design is different, 12 propellers, fixed wing. They have strong partners too, like Stellantis for manufacturing, and United Airlines, who plans to use their network.
Okay, so similar partnership approach.
Similar, but their aircraft currently has a shorter range, maybe 20 to 50 miles. Battery limits are a factor there. And their FAA certification seems to be about a year behind JOBY. Financially, Archer might have less cash on hand than JOBY. Their focus seems a bit more tilted towards selling aircraft to partners and letting them operate, which is arguably a lower risk path than JOBY's direct-to-consumer plan. And then there's Lilium, based in Germany. They have a really distinct design using 36 small ducted fan jets.
Just 36 jets.
Yeah,
Wow.
quite different. It gives them potentially longer range, around 155 miles, and a bigger cabin, 7 seats. They're primarily focused on getting certified in Europe first, through EASA.
Right.
Lilium seems to face bigger challenges. The tech is complex, development costs are very high, and they've had repeated funding issues. So most observers see them lagging behind JOBY and Archer right now in terms of getting to market.
Okay, so it sounds like JOBY really does have a lead, especially on the crucial FAA front and maybe financially. But you mentioned the high burn rate earlier. How secure is that lead? If JOBY hits a snag, say, with the FAA or needs more cash sooner than expected, could someone like Archer close that gap quickly?
That's definitely possible. It's a significant lead, particularly the regulatory head start, but it's not insurmountable. A major delay for JOBY, whether it's technical, regulatory, or related to scaling production, could absolutely create an opening for Archer or potentially others. JOBY's challenge now is execution. They need to keep hitting milestones, manage their cash burn effectively, and actually scale operations. Their lead is strong, but they need to convert it into tangible commercial success. And as we said, profitability is still quite a ways off.
That makes sense. The pressure is definitely on them to execute. So stepping back from the immediate competition and challenges, what's the really big picture here? What's the ultimate vision for JOBY and this whole UAM market? Where could this all lead?
Well, the market itself, urban air mobility, it's tiny right now. Nascent is the word. But the growth forecasts are, well, they're huge. We're seeing projections going from maybe $1.7, $1.8 billion in 2024 to potentially over $24 billion by 2031.
$24 billion.
By 2031.
Yeah, that's like a 50% compound annual growth rate. It just shows the scale of disruption people are expecting. And it's not just about flying people around as air taxis. Think about other uses, cargo transport, especially high-value or time-sensitive goods, drone delivery integrated with these larger vehicles, even air medical services, getting paramedics or patients moved quickly.
Right, beyond just bypassing traffic jams for commuters.
Exactly. It could reshape urban logistics in a lot of ways. For JOBY specifically, they see a few main ways to make money down the road. The biggest one, long-term, is likely operating their own air taxi service, earning fares directly from passengers. That's the core B2C vision.
The Uber of the skies model. Precisely. But that requires massive upfront investment in aircraft, vertiports, operations. So second, they'll likely pursue aircraft sales and B2B contracts, selling or leasing these very expensive advanced aircraft to airlines, corporations, wealthy individuals, maybe governments that could bring in revenue sooner.
Help fund the bigger vision.
Exactly. And third, joint ventures and partnerships, working with companies like SKT in Korea or Toyota in other regions, sharing the costs and profits of operating services there, spreads the risk and expands their footprint faster.
It's fascinating because the analyst predictions seem all over the map. You've got some who are incredibly bullish, calling JOBY a game changer, maybe the next Tesla, talking about 10x returns in 5 or 10 years. Morgan Stanley even called them a top pick, right? Leader in a huge growth industry.
Yes, the bulls are very optimistic about the potential.
But then you have others who are much more cautious, saying, hold on, this is super speculative, high valuation, zero revenue right now. Too many hurdles still. Basically, too early to jump in.
Yeah, and if we connect this back to the bigger picture, there's truth on both sides, really. The potential of the UAM market is undeniable. It's exciting. But getting there, achieving mass adoption, and especially turning a consistent profit, that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of continued investment. So for investors, this is squarely a long-term bet. It requires patience and a pretty high tolerance for risk. Definitely not for the faint of heart or those looking for quick returns.
So wrapping this all up, it's clear JOBY Aviation is right at the forefront, a pioneer in this really exciting but
You have a very complex world of urban air mobility. They've got groundbreaking tech, some powerful partners, and a lot of cash. But they're balancing that against huge risks, a brand new market, tough regulations, and that long, expensive path to actually making money. It really is a high-wire act. And maybe this leaves you with something to think about. As you go about your day, consider this. How will our cities, how will our daily lives fundamentally change when the sky really does open up for air taxis? And what kind of unexpected challenges or maybe completely new opportunities might pop up that go way beyond just fixing traffic jams?